Hey, techies, it's Cheryl from Tutoring with Cheryl. I'm the tech coach for tutors. And I was just sitting down, it's a Sunday afternoon, working in my notebook, filling out right now I've got my schedule listed on my piece of paper for my lesson planning, and I'm going to be doing lesson planning. But it made me go back to 2 falls ago, back in 2023, when I had decided that math was very challenging to tutor, and I'm very good at it. I'm very good at it. But I was struggling because there were some things that I was unable to do at the time. Google Meet hadn't upped their game, unfortunately, at that time. And I also realized that most of the people that were asking me to help their elementary students with math really were asking also for reading services. So I decided to flip things around, and I focused more on the reading and the writing. And I decided to rebrand myself as a reading tutor. And if that didn't take me a year, well, it did. And so I want to talk to you a little bit about maybe some fear that might go into your thinking as you are rebranding yourself, if you are thinking about doing that, because sometimes we get started in a niche and we think this is the one for me because we loved doing it in the classroom. So if you are a former educator, a current educator, somebody who's really good at a skill, you've maybe started to support people with it, and then you were like, yeah, maybe that's not quite for me. I'm talking to you today. And for any of our brand new tutors that are just getting started, there's some really good words of wisdom here that I think you can take to heart. Take some notes, get out your notebook, and pay attention to this conversation because these are real things. Now, notice I said about 2 years ago in the fall, because today's date is August 24th, 2025 is the date of this recording. So I am now 3 full years into my journey as an independent reading tutor, reformed math, now into reading. And 2 years prior to that, I had been working for a national company here in the United States. And they would feed me kids, and I was still teaching in the classroom. It was the last 2 years of my teaching journey in the classroom. And I was working for this company, and I'm like, oh, yeah, I can totally do this. And then I'm going to go out on my own. And I'm starting out, and I started out pretty strong. By the time I was about 6 to 9 months into my tutoring, I was what I would call fully booked. I would range between 6 to 9 students and stay pretty consistent there. But now I'm at 14 students, and that is going to ebb and flow. It's going to ebb and flow. Sometimes I'm going to have more students, sometimes I'm going to have less students, and it's going to depend on the number of hours that I'm willing to work. Well, for me, I really don't want to work more than 15 hours a week. So right around 14, 15, maybe 16 students, I'm going to say I'm pretty much maxed out. And why is that? Because I have a life. I'm a retired school teacher, and I just want to make sure that I can go and attend the things that I want to go to and still enjoy my life. And for many of you who followed my journey as I've been talking about it, I live on a very large farm, and it's so funny because our footprint is very large. This farm is very, very large. And so honestly, I spend a lot of my time just on a lawnmower, just mowing here and then at another farm that we also take care of. So there's a lot of mowing involved. And then I'm the go-to runner. So I have to go pick things up, take people from field to field, et cetera. And if I'm too busy, I can't show up and do the things that I need to do to support my family with the farming that we do. Okay, so now let's get back to where I was at. I did this rebrand, and it took me a while. And so like I said, it took me back to this struggle. Okay. Now it wasn't that I didn't know how to plan. I knew how to plan. I knew how to teach. I knew all those things. We're experts at those. When we're in the classroom, we can do, we are the jack of all trades, right? And I think that's kind of one of the things that maybe holds us back a little bit when we go into our tutoring, because we don't really know where to start. We're like, oh, but I could do this, or I could do this, or I could do this. So, boo, what if I do this? And pretty soon it's like our ADHD on overdrive, and we can't like focus. So the very first thing that I'm going to tell you to do right now is focus. And if you need to put a little sign up like I did, I had a sign up that said, I can do hard things. I needed that mindset that this is going to be hard to start from scratch all over again because I had just done it. Okay. But I knew that I needed to connect with my audience and change what I was talking about. And so I had all this stuff out there on math, and then I'm like, but wait, now I need to go talk about reading, and now they're all going to be confused. So it was a real challenge. It was a real challenge. So my mindset was I had to become to this realization that I had to go and find the people. People were not necessarily going to go and find me. Hmm. That seems kind of odd, doesn't it? In this world of social media where we can put all kinds of hashtags and we can put different things in our descriptions that should draw people to me, right? That should draw people to me. But I didn't have a big enough audience at the time, and I worked with a professional to help me, a coach that helped me with my Instagram, and I did increase my following, but I'm still going to say that it just wasn't enough for me personally. Why? Because the market for reading tutors is really, really full. And all the experts are going to say, how are you going to stand out above the rest? I don't know. I can say that be yourself, tell stories about things that are happening, show up consistently, and that all takes a lot of time and effort. But over the course of the last 2 years, my rebranding helped me understand some things. Okay. And the very first thing that helped me understand was that Facebook and Instagram alone will not I cannot find 100% of my business on there. I live in a very rural area. Again, I said I lived on a farm, right? I'm in Northeast Nebraska. There's a lot of people in Omaha and in Lincoln, Grand Island, even parts of South Dakota, Missouri, Iowa might be looking, but I don't know if they're going to find me. It's a pretty big area, right? So I had to figure out how was I going to connect and market. And the very first thing that I did when this realization hit me was I went into our local bank and spoke to my friend Terry. Terry, hi Terry. I hope you're watching this. And I said, "Hey, I want to join the business club." And she's like, "Oh, you do?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I mean, I'm a small business. I might as well just join it." And I asked her, "What are the dues?" And she's like, "Oh, it's just $15 a year." I thought, $15 for a whole year? Sign me up. So, first thing I want you to do is check with your local business organization or your chamber of commerce or something and figure out a place where you can show up with other businesses and start talking about your business. I know it sounds so weird. Why do I want to go and I want to talk about my business? Well, maybe you're not necessarily talking about your business. You could be talking about things that are going on in town or things that s- uh, things that you noticed or challenges. You can come in and you can ask questions. Now, our business club literally only meets like, oh gosh, 4 times a year maybe. And there's probably other groups that visit more often, but the focus of our business club is to support our small rural community. And so we come together and we plan events. Now I've got another event coming up this weekend, and I actually have to check in with the group because we had put on a big celebration for the summer solstice, and it was so dry and so windy at the time that we could not have our fireworks, so they were delayed until actually this coming weekend, and I need to find out, do I have a job? And if I do, I better show up, right? But you show up, you put in the work, and it's not that much work. It's a few hours here, it's a few hours there. But when people see you out in the community, they're like, "Oh yeah, I saw Sheryl Uehling there. Why would she have been there?" Well, her husband farms. "Oh, I heard she was a tutor." Or I might be talking to somebody and I might say, "Yeah, I'm really glad that the business club was able to do this for you." And they're like, "Oh, what's your business?" And I'll be like, "Well, I might have my hat on that says Tutoring with Sheryl, or maybe a jacket that says Tutoring with Sheryl." I can say, "Yeah, I'm a local tutor and I support students with their reading." It's as simple as that. And that gets the conversation started. So definitely get involved in your community. And if it is not with a business club, is it a community club of some sort? Is it your church? Is it a gaming club? Is it, I can't even come up with really anything. Maybe you're in a sewing club, or maybe you're just going to go to your local fitness club. Okay, but get involved and talk about your business. The next thing that I'm going to talk to you about is I mentioned my hat, right? My hat and my shirt. Well, I have to be really honest with you. I wasn't a big fan of the shirt that I got. It works. And as a matter of fact, it's fall time. So I actually need to go over to West Point to Creative Connections and see if they can just get me a nice embroidered shirt. But when you show up places, wear your brand. Why? Because you are your brand. I know, isn't that crazy? Now you can put your logo on there. Honestly, I just put Tutoring with Sheryl on there. People will ask me about it. I might say reading, writing specialist or something like that. And it starts the conversation. Whenever I go to the grocery store or I go to a place like Target or Walmart, I put on my ball cap and it says Tutoring with Sheryl, and I always strike up a conversation. Then the other thing is have some business cards in your wallet. And so if anybody says anything like, oh man, my granddaughter could really use some help, and you can say, oh, would you like to have a business card? And if they said that, they probably want to have a business card. Okay. So hats, shirts, networking in your local community. Okay, now this is going to sound crazy, but that good old flyer, and I put them up and it brings business my way. And I actually have to update my flyers for the fall. I have a couple spots. I would probably be willing to take on 2 more students at this point. Probably not anymore at this point. Maybe through Christmas when some of my kids graduate then around Christmas, but for sure 2 more. And so I need to update my flyers and get them posted. And where do I put them? Well, let's talk about that. Again, I'm rebranding, right? Because everything I was talking about math, and now it's all talking about reading. So actually, we should probably talk about what you put on your flyer. So whatever your subject is, have an image that represents it. Put your smiling face on there. Have the name of your company. Make sure that you include contact information like your website, your phone number, your email, whatever you want people to contact you on. Don't forget to put like a flow code or a QR code on there. Make it super easy for them. And then keep the wording very simple. What I found is too many words don't help. I mean, I've done enough flyers now to know. So don't overdo all of the words that are on there. Keep it super simple and then highlight the words that you want to really stand out. So pick a font that is super easy to read. You might like the cursive. There's a lot of people in the world that can't read the cursive. So if you like the script kind, reconsider that. Go with something bold. Leek Spartan or even Poppins, if you do it in bold, stand out, and they're very easy for people to read. So keep that in mind. It's got to be something super simple for people to read. Okay, so that flyer is important. Now, where do you put them? You hang them up in truck stops, at your local coffee shops, gas stations. You might want to drop a couple off at your local school. Email them to your friends. Email them to your local teachers that you already know. You can use your flyer to introduce yourself to teachers that you don't know. So you can go onto their websites, and then whatever the grade level is, you can just say, hi, I'm so-and-so. I'm a local tutor. I meet with my students online. I specialize in this. If you run across any families that need some help, here's my flyer. Feel free to print it out and share it. I know that you can't always be available to tutor your students, but if somebody's seeking help and they ask, I would be happy to be a resource. Boom, that's it. And then if you support families with like the IEP goals and the 504 goals, include that, because that is a big selling point. People want support with those things. I mentioned the business cards. I ordered 200 for like, gosh, I think it was under $50 from Canva, and they're actually on my shelf. I can't get up and go get them right now, but they're really solid. They look really nice. The one thing I'm gonna encourage you to do is get the rounded edges. This is the second time I've ordered them with the square edges, and I've got to remember to put that rounded edge because I think it just elevates your business card just a little bit, and they're easier to get in and out of your wallet, especially if you've got one like on your phone case. Okay. Let's see, I'm just reading my information. Car signage is really important. And I know that sounds crazy to put a car sign on, but the very first student I ever got 3 years ago was because I had my website address. I ordered it I think it was off of Etsy, and it was like somebody made it with their Cricut, and it was just that vinyl stuff, and I had to like scrape it on and then really scrape it to get it off because they changed my website. But it just at that point was midwesttutor.com, and I should get a new one that says Tutoring with Sheryl. But I have now gone over to a magnetic sign, so I can take it on and off. And one thing I found out about my magnetic sign is if you put it on your car and then it hasn't like stuck to it, like you have to like smudge it on, it will fly off as you go down the road, because I had a surprise when I got to town and my sign was off. But luckily I hadn't gone very far and I went back and I found it. So just a note, pay attention to that. You can, like I said, the more you talk about your business, the more people are going to be talking about you. So the more you talk about your specialty, what you do, people will find you. So go to the coffee shop, go and have a coffee, talk to people about what you do, even if you don't know them. Again, wearing your signage on your hat or on your shirt is going to make that a lot easier. So you might say, "Oh, hi, I'm Sheryl. It's nice to meet you today. What are you getting? What are you ordering? What are you ordering today? Oh, I'm getting a mocha latte. I love mocha lattes. They're not very good for me, but I really like them." And they might say, "Yeah, I'm on my way to work and I'm getting a matcha." I'm like, "Oh, what do you do?" And then you just start the conversation, and then they might ask you, "Well, what do you do?" "Oh, I'm so glad that you asked." And then you start the conversation. So don't be fearful about talking to people in coffee shops, because people expect it in a coffee shop, okay? Or even at the checkout in your local grocery store. Okay, a couple more things I'm going to mention. Newspaper ads are really easy to put together, but they can kind of be costly. And there aren't as many people using newspapers as they used to. But when I partnered, and I did do this, I partnered with a local newspaper and I ran an ad just to see what it would cost me. And it was right around, it was under $50. Might have been right at 50, but it was right around $50. They ran my ad for 2 weeks, and then they also hosted me on their website. Okay, so it was a great way to get my name out there on their website. Okay. I then decided to do a radio advertisement, and I did that last spring in April, last week of April, first week in May, and it ran for 10 days. And I have all this training in the Tech Hub for Tutors, and I created the advertisement and I let it run. And along with that and my yard signs, I made yard signs that I put out, and you can, in my state, you can put a yard sign on a county road and keep it there. I have some I got to go pick up probably this week. But you can lay them out, and as long as they're out of the right of way, and they don't come and pick them up, you can leave them there. I'm going to go pick my signs up. I spent about $60 for 6 signs. I'm down to 4. But I've used them for, well, I ordered them in February. So once the ground somewhat thawed in March, April, May, June, July, August. So 6 months, 6 signs, $60, $10 a sign. That's pretty easy. You do the math. Is it worth it for you to get a student? So you have to decide, is that $60 worth it for me? Something else that I did is I showed up at local markets. Okay. What do I mean by local market? I did 3 local markets where I had a table laid out with a cover on it that had my signage on it. And I was handing out free things at the first 2 markets. The 3rd market, I decided to make some things. It was not a good use of my time or my money. So again, if I ever do it again, and I might do it again, I will only stick with the freebies and just pass out free things. And when the free things are gone, I'm going to pack up my stuff and go. And so those run between $50 and $60, depending on where you're at. There's another local one coming up here in town. I cannot remember when it is. It's in October, but I'm pretty solidly booked right now, so I don't think I'm going to do that one. It is being run by my friend Mitzi, though. Hey, Mitzi. Okay, so that one's for you, Mitzi. And then the last suggestion when you're talking about rebranding or even just trying to get students is volunteering. And when you show up and you volunteer, it shows that you care about your community and the kids in the community. So find something that has kids involved with it and offer to volunteer. And maybe even just go going up to your local school, not even mentioning that you're a tutor, but just saying, hey, I've got an hour on or 2 hours on Friday afternoons from this time to this time. Is there a need for me to come into the classrooms to do to sit and listen to kids to reading? And then when you show up, that's when you wear your signage. Tutoring with Sheryl. I help struggling readers or building reading success or whatever it happens to be. So those would be some things. But every time you're talking about yourself, you want to talk about who you are as the expert, who you support, what your mission is, and the transformation that the children are going to have. And so the children that work with me are going to become confident readers because they're going to get the knowledge and the basic skills that they need to read and comprehend and answer questions. I mean, literally, that's what needs to happen for kids to be successful in the classroom. And unfortunately, and this is a little bit of a bird walk, but I still feel pretty confident about this, that when we're in fourth, fifth, and sixth grade and instruction is being taught to these kids in small groups, there's no way these kids can get caught up because there's not enough information coming at them or enough skills being taught in 15 minutes to bridge the gap. So I am able to do that. So talk to the parents from the pain point that they have that you have the solution for, and it is going to work for you. All right, so this all started today with me sitting down to plan my lessons, and that is what I'm going to work on next. But if this has been helpful for you and you feel like you want to learn more about the Tech Hub for Tutors, I'm going to invite you to come and learn more. Now, what are we? We are a small group, but growing. And well, I kind of like the fact that we're small because I personally email my members. I have conversations with them. They respond back to me. I've had many of them on my podcast. And we just brainstorm different ways to be successful. And because of the membership, I've been so blessed. I've learned so much about, the way other people handle their businesses. They've learned from me. And then anything that they have a question about, I'm always on a mission to go solve it. Hey, let me go check that out and I'll get back to you. And then I just share what I'm learning. And again, this is being recorded in August, but in September, I'm going to be releasing the results of my virtual open house and providing that outline for how I did it. And so that is a major, major thing. And honestly, I've got another thing coming up in September, and I actually have to go look and see what my training is. I've been that busy with students, which is a real blessing indeed. So you guys, I hope that this has been really, really helpful for you. If it's been really helpful, make sure that you chime in. Tell me, where are you tutoring from? What kind of students do you support? Go ahead and leave it in the comments. Parents might be looking here. Other tutors might want to connect and learn from you. And then again, if you want the details on joining the Tech Hub for Tutors, make sure that you follow the link in the description and we'll get you signed up right away. Bye-bye.